y'all doing today? It's Friday afternoon. I'm almost done. I'm almost back to the bluff. And I'll be finishing up and meeting Mama over here. But I want to talk to you this week. Was 9/11. And I want to take just a few minutes and talk to you about that. What I remember, my feelings, my thoughts. It still gets me choked up a little bit. It still gives me a pause. I remember what I was doing that morning. We had just left the house in Illinois. Me and a friend of mine. I was heading down to Texas. He was heading over to Oklahoma. We was running together. And we was coming down I-57. We was still in Illinois when we heard over the CB radio that New York had been bombed. We didn't believe it at first, but other people confirmed it, so we didn't have much choice. So then we stopped at the rest area, talked a little bit, jumped in the truck, realized that this is really going on. And my buddy was talking about turning around, going home, be with his wife and kids. I was single at the time. And not knowing what was happening, I mean, there was a lot of people in that state not knowing what to do. But we run on down to the truck stop and watched it on TV. And just watched the news of them replaying the plane hitting the tower. I am not a news type guy. I don't keep up with the news a whole lot. But that day, I watched the news. I believe it was 6:30 when that first plane hit the tower. And it was a moment in time that took our breath away as a nation. It destroyed something that we had that we will never get back. When I was a child, growing up down here in southeast Missouri, we'd get a lot of tornadoes. And I was scared to death of storms. But when we was at my grandmother's house, she would take us kids and put us in her bed, cover us up. And it didn't matter what was going on in the world that night. I knew I was safe. Grandma would wrap you in her arms and hug you and hold you close. And it didn't seem like anything could touch you at that point. Now, as I got older, I see that's a false sense of security that I had. That was an innocence that I had as a child. And I think before 9/11, we had that in this nation. That somehow we was immune from the evils of the world. We was immune from war. We was immune from all this stuff. And when that dome that we had got penetrated, it snatched away our innocence. It stole our security. And I don't know if that's replaceable. I don't know if we'll ever get that back. But I do remember that day standing there and just watching it happen, and it showed them people jumping out of the building. And it was like getting kicked in the gut. I've lost many people in my life, and it hurt. imagine what it was like to lose somebody that day. Every year, this nation commemorates it to some degree, depending on where you're at. But you hear about it every year. The videos pop up, the music pops up, and it just takes you back to that place. I know even today, 23 years later, when I hear the music that come out of that, or I see the videos of that day, or when someone plays a recording of the phone calls and the news broadcast, it still stuns me. It still shocks me to my very core. My daughter's 13 and she's reading about it in the history books. You know, she's learning about it that way, and it doesn't impact her the same. She didn't live it, she didn't feel it like we did. I don't know if it'll ever go away. I don't think that's a memory that will ever fade. I don't think that feeling, that initial feeling, I don't think I'll ever forget that. It shook me to my very core. The countless lives that was lost just for no good reason. Just heartbreaking, gut-wrenching. And if you had a family member that was lost that day, my thoughts and prayers go out to you. They really do. I can't imagine what you went through sitting at home. I remember talking to my friend, and I told him, I said, look, I got an uncle in New York, and I don't know where. My mom's going to freak out. So we drove to my mother's house and visited with her a little bit. And my uncle lives in upstate New York, about the middle of the state. But he was that day, he did happen to be just across the river in New Jersey. And never really talked to him about it much, but I remember him mentioning it, and just the little bit that I heard from him, it was horrendous up there. And I can't imagine going through that. Being so far removed from it, the impact it had on me. I couldn't imagine being in New York that day. But I do remember the days after, too. When, as a nation, we come together. There was no Republican, there was no Democrat, there was no liberal or conservative. There was just Americans. It seemed like we had found a strength and a peace out of that tragedy. And I look at where we're at now, and we have come so far. We're so divided, so annihilated from each other, and it's just sad that it took something like that to bring us together. I don't know how many of you have watched this that are old enough to remember that day. But if you are, then you know what I'm talking about. And yes, I still get emotional about it. It still still moves me. There's not many things in life that will move you for so long. I remember President Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt. Here recently, Donald Trump's assassination attempt. The Challenger. But I wasn't old enough for Reagan and the Challenger for it to move me like 9/11 did. And I hope it's something my children never have to face. I hope they never have a memory like that. But for those of us who do, let's not just remember the hate and the fear and the hurt, but let's also remember the fact that we come together, we put our differences aside, and let's remember that part also. And let's try to work to get there. Let's put our differences aside, focus on what's good in this world and in this life and in this nation. And I'm not political. I'm not going to get political. I'm just not that way. I'll argue politics with you if that's what you like, and I don't care which side you're on. I don't care. But I used to have a friend, the same guy, I would argue politics with him and we agreed on them, but I would always take the opposing side just to irritate him. And he'd get so mad, he'd be as red as this red light up here. And I'd just start laughing. I said, I don't know why you're getting so mad. You know, I think like you do. We agree on most 90% of the stuff. But, so I don't get political. But let's work to get back to what this nation was the day after 9/11. That's what we need to focus on. Go home, tell your family you love them, hug them a little tighter, hold them a little longer. If there's someone you care about, let them know it. Don't ever leave them guessing. Let them know. Because you never know. You never know how long someone's got. You never know when the last time you'll hold your kid on your knee. You'll never know the last time you hug your wife. You never know the last time you have coffee with your mom. There'll come a day when you have the last breakfast you ever have with your father. You never know the last joke you'll tell your big brother, or the last time you'll get a swing with your baby sister. So today, just go home, love your family, let them know you love them. They need it. More importantly, you need it, or just as importantly, I should say. And I'm almost at the yard. I'm gonna go have dinner with Mama. That's my view from the driver's seat. So as always, the shiny side up, greasy side down. We'll catch you on the flip-flop.